In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White, where we are coloring conversations on the canvas of America. Tonight, we have another great show for you all, and happy Monday. Good evening, family. Welcome to America in Black and White, where we honor truth, elevate legacy, and build bridges towards justice. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and tonight's episode is a masterclass in healing, accountability, and community transformation. Our guest is a man whose work is rooted in empathy, driven by purpose, and guided by a vision for systemic change. Frederick Cooper is a restorative justice advocate, peace builder, and community facilitator who has spent years transforming conflict into connection. From grassroots organizing to courtroom reform, Fred has helped dismiss over 100 cases through restorative justice courts, offering individuals a second chance and communities a path towards healing. His work spans towards schools, prisons, and neighborhoods, where he leads peace circles, trains facilitators, and advocates for policy reform that centers restoration over punishment. Tonight, we'll explore his journey, his impact, and his vision for a society where justice is rooted in dignity and conflict becomes a doorway to reconciliation. This is a conversation for anyone who believes in the power of healing and the possibilities of change. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frederick Cooper.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How you feeling?
I am excellent. Welcome back to the show. It's good to have you back.
Pleasure.
So, as we get ready to dive into the show, again, I just want to let you know that as I was following you, I noticed that from your first appearance on the show that you were doing even more with your restorative justice program, and I definitely wanted people to get some insights as to some of the work that you was doing and how you had made lots and lots of gains, in the communities where you are.
Yes.
And so I want to start with the restorative justice practice. Can you tell us what first drew you to restorative justice work?
I actually was watching this show called Chicagoland that was on Netflix, and it was a guy named Robert Spice on there. He was actually doing peace circles at a high school out here called Finger High School in Chicago, Illinois. And I just thought it was just the best thing because he was talking about how the suspension rate had went down since he had been doing it. And, the kids wasn't fighting anymore and things like that. So long story short, I actually got trained in restorative justice, and my trainer was the same guy I was watching on TV. And so he actually became my mentor. And then when I got trained in restorative justice, I actually started at a school myself. And I seen how the kids would gravitate to this safe space. And so when I was doing it there at the school, one day a county sheriff seen me, and she asked me would I come into Cook County Jail. And then that's how I got into there. And then from Cook County, went to the restorative justice course, and that's how I got into it.
Oh, wow. So what is the you said you got certified. So what is the certifications like, and what does that consist of?
It's a 4-day training. It was a 4-day training for maybe 8 hours a day. And it was just going over peacekeeping, how to create the safe space, things to look out for, questions to ask, icebreakers, how to resolve conflict, how to get the people to talk and things of that nature.
Mhm. So, how do you define restorative justice in your own words?
Oh, it's simple for me. I always tell people two words: building relationships.
Wow.
Building relationships.
And so, I guess when you say building relationships, is that just like you just expanding out to like a networking process
So it's
that actually builds and builds and builds clientele?
yeah. So for me, I always tell people when they come into my to a peace circle that I'm facilitating is try to understand somebody you don't know.
Mhm.
That's one of my main things. I try to understand. And we do our values, we do our guidelines, and one of the things I always tell people, tell people that I'm facilitating to is, the main goal is to not judge someone,
Mhm.
not judge, especially don't judge someone on a book about a story you walked in, about a chapter you walked in on, because you don't know a person. So the goal is to just build that relationship, because we all come from different walks of life, we all come from different backgrounds and things of that nature. And so the goal is to just get everybody into that safe space and then go from there, just building relationships, breaking down the barriers and the layers that some are holding in.
Okay. So, what's the difference between restorative justice and traditional punitive system?
So restorative justice is basically a safe space that does not judge. And the goal is to try to get it to restore it's restorative. So now when we sitting in there, you have your justice system. So when in your justice system, guilty and not guilty. And restorative justice, the goal is not to say a person is guilty or not guilty. The goal is to make a person accountable for what's going on and to see how we can help them from that point.
So, but when you guys do that, let's just I want to just give an example, and you walk me through this. But
Mhm.
let's just say somebody has got a situation that's coming up that's punitive, and so when you go to bat for these people, or you're there doing that process, what is it that you do to alleviate that and put them in a different space?
Okay, so what usually happens with the restorative justice courts is the cases that I'm working with are non-violent felony cases. And so what usually will happen is the state's attorney will refer a case over to the court. But when they meet with me, I usually will meet with that participant 4 to 5 times. We sit in this peace circle. We talk about first thing I want to do is just get to know them. I won't even talk about the case. I just want to know you, your background, some things about you. So I just might do a couple rounds with you, a couple icebreakers just to break the ice, make it fun. I let them invite whoever they want to invite. And then maybe around that second, third circle, we start talking about, well, what happened? And I always tell them, I share my story with them so they make them comfortable. And so once they start talking, and then they'll start revealing things of that nature, because the space has become safe. And then after the fourth to fifth circle, we come up with what we call a repair harm agreement. It's an agreement for things for them to do in order to get the case dismissed. And it's usually goals that they come up with. So it might be, I want to get my driver's license. I'm going to get my GED. I'm going to get employment. And so once they knock those things out, we take it to the judge and the case get dismissed.
Okay. So, can you share a story where a peace circle led to unexpected healing?
Oh yes, I know. There's one guy I was working with. I never forget him. He had just lost his mother. He just lost his mother maybe 2 points prior before he came into the restorative courts, and he's still a good friend of mine to this day. And when he first got in, he just broke down and started crying the first peace circle, and he was just like, "Y'all don't know what I've been through." And we sat, we talked, and I just said, I can't imagine what you're going through from being with your mother. Then you caught this case on top of that. And so, but I said, well, the goal for me is to help you as much as possible. I can help you through this process and make sure that you get this case dismissed so it won't taint your background. And then you can go on and make a name for yourself, something that your mother will be proud of. And that same participant, he got his case dismissed. And now he works for the city of Chicago, and he spoke at our graduation.
Oh wow, that, that now that's something else.
Yeah.
Um, so So when they graduate, so basically your circles are basically like courses that they have to go through. Do that is that mandatory that they do that and pass
So
to get a certification?
it's just a piece. So when they catch the case and the case get referred to me, it's just the peace circles with me. That's it. They just have to do like 4 to 5 peace circles, and then that's it. And then they start working on those goals.
Oh, okay. What does accountability look like in restorative justice?
So accountability looks like, yes, you've done this, whatever it is. So let's say a person got a UUW, unlawful use of a firearm. Let's say it's a UUW case. And so what will happen is the accountability piece is saying, hey, we know you know you had the gun. You admitted that you had it, so you signed over your rights to come to this court. So you admit you came in there, you admitted that you had the gun, but the goal is to not point the finger and say you're guilty. The goal is to say, well, why you had this gun? And you might say, hey, my friend got shot. I was just protecting myself. Okay, I understand that, but you know you had it, so you got to be accountable for that. But now let's take this a step further. We're gonna sit in this peace circle. We're gonna come up with all these things for you to do. It's probably gonna be one, since you had a gun case, we're gonna take you to a gun class so you
Mhm.
can understand the importance of a gun. Two, I want to show you how once you get this case dismissed to get it legally. And so
Okay.
we go through all those steps. And so once the case is dismissed, now you in a process of now getting your record expunged. And now whatever, like if it's that gun that you felt you needed, I want to show you how to protect yourself and get that handgun in a legal way because it is your legal right.
Mhm. So, how do you prepare participants in the for the emotional depth of peace circles?
That's a good question. So how do I prepare them? It's just, the thing is the peace circles do get emotional because it's breaking a lot of barriers from, especially where we doing it in the south side of Chicago in the Inglewood neighborhood.
Mhm.
It's a lot of trauma that's been going on. A lot of people say, well, I lost a friend, this and that. I lost a friend, somebody got shot. So the goal is to share and be truthful as possible.
Mhm.
So when I share, because me, I've been shot myself, and I share. So when I hear it, so I tell somebody, hey, well, I went through this. And so when I start talking about it, it makes them talk about it. And even if it's not just that, even if it's emotion of, hey, I lost a friend, I'm going through something. The goal is to show empathy and show compassion in that circle.
Mhm. So, what role does empathy play in the conflict resolution? And so, when I'm talking about the empathy, because I know that your circles are set up, as you say, based on the empathy and wanting to make sure that people feel comfortable, safe, and peaceful. But with this, when we talk about the conflict resolution and empathy, how are you able to make that work in the circle after you just discussed about the traumas and the things that these people go through? How do you make that work?
Oh, that's easy. So it's just one. I always come in. So, I've been doing it for about 10 years now. So one of the things I always do, I want to just lighten the load. We come in easy. I just say, hey, man, tell me about your favorite artist and why you like them. It might be just something like that. I'm not doing this every time, but just sometimes. Hey, tell me something about it. And then start talking. Then it gets deeper, deeper, deeper. So now they're ready to release all those things. Okay, we talked about this. Now, okay, let's talk about, okay. So now let's talk about that time you got shot. What was going through your mind? And so I'm showing them that I'm interested in what they're saying, and that's not what they're used to.
Mm, wow. So normally, what you're saying is most people always got that guard up.
Right, because you're
Very
dealing
high.
with people in community who some of them are from the streets, so they got that mask on. I gotta remain hard. I gotta remain tough. I can't let that happen. So when I'm bringing it in, bring it to them, it's not like on a tough road. It's more of a caring.
Mhm. So, how do you handle resilience from institutions or individuals unfamiliar with restorative practices?
Can you repeat that?
How do you handle resistance from institutions or individuals unfamiliar with restorative practices?
Wow. How do I handle that? Ooh. Well, my goal right now is to get as many people trained in restorative justice as possible, because a lot of people don't understand the process of restorative justice, and when it's something new, they decline it. Because I've done trainings with police officers that was real good, but I've done some trainings with police officers that say, "Well, I don't believe in that." I feel if you get in trouble, you get arrested, you should go to jail. And some people are not open to that. But for me and my process, I always show people I have to understand both sides. I have to understand this side of me being a restorative justice practitioner that's trying to bring in something new to try to help our community and bring some healing. But I also try to understand this side that's saying, hey, this is what we're used to. And, I want to try to bring those two worlds together and see how we create something different that'll work for both of us.
Well, um, what's one misconception about restorative justice you often encounter?
Oh, one of the biggest misconception is it doesn't work. And a lot of people say it doesn't work because they haven't actually sat through the whole process. Sitting in a peace circle. Some people, like when I first brought it to Cook County, they thought it was weird, the guys in there. They're like, man, what is this? And so when we started doing it, it was just, no, I don't do no talking. I don't do no talking, bro. I ain't with all that. But when we started doing it, they couldn't stop talking. They couldn't stop. And I'm like, I'm only supposed to be here for an hour, but every time I leave Cook County, I've been there 2-3 hours because the guys is getting that safe space. It's something that they haven't been in before, and something that they haven't been a part of, because now you're in a space where you get to talk freely and not being judged, and they used to being judged.
So yeah, what's good about that is this, and if you can elaborate a little bit more on with that, with people like having that trust issue, and that as there's a trust factor, and it's one of those things that probably people just and not being used to it, and when you see something like that, that they feel it's got to be a setup in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
How do you get them past that?
Oh, I get them past that. Simple. It's not simple. And like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. And so, like, I give you an example. So when I first came to Cook County Jail, when I first did it, a guard would usually sit by the door. And I was just like, no, I don't want no guards by the door. And they was like, you sure? I'm like, no, I'm positive. And I had to explain to him why, because I want my guys to talk as freely as possible. That's one. When I first started at the Restorative Justice Court, I remember they had like a camera. They said, oh, the camera ain't on, but it's just here. I said, no, we got to cover that up. I never want a person to feel like they're being recorded talking, somebody's watching them talking, because I've had participants that sat in this circle and have talked about things that have happened in their lives that they probably don't want nobody to know. And another thing about me, when I do peace circles, I've been in different community organizations where a staff member say, well, I just want to sit on the outside and watch. I'll be like, no, that you can't sit outside the circle and not participate. And I'm talking to CEOs of these organizations. Well, I just want to sit and see how it works. I'm like, no, that ain't how it works. If you gonna sit in here, you got to sit in the circle, because I can't allow the participants to talk their personal information and business, and you sit here and just listen and you not share the same. That's not how it works. And it's funny you asked me that question, because like 2 weeks ago, I encountered that. A person that was working in the organization, he said, well, I just want to sit and see how it goes. I said, no, that ain't how it works. And he was like, well, I've been here for 15 years. Usually when people come in and do things, I sit and observe. I said, well, restorative justice peace circles, and what I do is not to be observed, is to be joined in, and we all share.
You're right.
And he kept saying, no, well, this is, I want to just say. I said, that's not how this works. It's not how it works. And then we went back and forth for maybe 10 minutes. I said, well, here's how it's going to go. I said, I have to be honest with you. If you're not going to sit in a circle, I'm just not going to do it. It's just, I just can't do it. I cannot rob my participants of their privacy. That's not how this works. And so he did sit in the circle, and after the circle, we talked. He shook my hand. He said, I understood. He said, I understand what you're doing.
Wow. Now, but so do you? That apparently, then that means that you often have a lot of people that in knowing this work that you're doing in the circles, that they just want to observe the circle just to see, and they just want to watch, and it's like, oh, but this how that is, and maybe they're talking about it the wrong way and not really getting the understanding.
Exactly.
And see, and I think that's probably why I think a lot of folks that sit in those circles probably feel like that's uncomfortable, because are you trying to write something down on me or take some notes about what I say?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why I can't have you sitting on the outside. Everybody sit on the inside. I told the guy, I said, if the president walked in here, I would say you have to sit in. This is how this works.
Right.
It has to be for everybody because there's no one's bigger than what we're doing here.
Exactly. Wow. That's hey, I applaud you for that. How do you measure success in restorative justice cases?
So for me, I measure success by impact. How did this impact you? Not just because I'm at a court and cases are being dismissed. I'm at community organizations. I've did peace circles with families. I've done it with policemen, principals, schools. So I measure about the impact. So when I first started working in this high school on the west side, I seen the impact because one, nobody in my group got suspended that year. Not one suspension. So I was showing them how to do it, how to do peace circles. So when I'm not around and the conflict come up, y'all know how to sit down and do it yourselves. And so that was the impact. And then even with the restorative justice course, over 100 cases dismissed, which could have been 100 convicted felons.
Oh,
That's
wow.
impact.
Mm-hmm.
And then working with families, like I worked with three sons and a father who wasn't even talking to each other. And so once we did the peace circle, and one of the strategies I said, I want y'all to write down 3 things that y'all feel y'all father need to work on. Everybody wrote. I want y'all to talk about 3 things y'all just love about him. Everybody wrote it down. I said, flip over the one that y'all feel he need to work on. Every son had the same thing.
Oh, wow.
And the father, he just sat there and he just broke down. And the goal was to to show them that the impact that his words and his actions had on all of them. But now let's flip over the good things. All of them had the same thing. And so it's just what it's doing with these peace circles is revealing and healing some of the things that we don't talk about on an everyday basis.
Wow. Especially from a family perspective, because I'm sure that in itself had to be some serious in-depthness that they had some issues with. Um, let's move over to the work you do in community engagement and some of the system changes that you're working on. What systemic barriers do you see in implementing restorative justice widely?
Systemically, I would like to see it in a lot more cases.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more cases. Like one of my goals right now that I'm working on, and I know it's going to be not easy, but one of the goals that I'm working on is to bring restorative justice to hip hop arenas and sports fields and things of that nature. To show like when we have rap beefs and things of that, things like that, we can sit these artists down and we can see what's going on. Let's talk about this. How do we, man? Where did it start? How do we resolve? It's not just sitting here letting record labels and things make millions and millions of dollars off this. How do we resolve this before one of our young brothers get killed?
So let me ask you something because that's very interesting. But can you be a little bit more in depth as to when you say you want to see this in those arenas? What exactly are you pinpointing that you want to attach that to make that work?
So what I want to attach it to like like bigger names, bigger arenas and celebrities and things of that nature to show like if I can get I'm gonna say a basketball player, let's use Draymond Green. Guy who's getting all these technical fouls, getting thrown out the games, losing all this money on suspensions. Let's just say I was to go to the commissioner and say, Commissioner Silver, let me start working with, instead of suspending the players, let's send them to restorative justice peace circles.
Okay. So what would that look like? Now, before you answer that question, because you know I just visualize what you just said. And so as a visual, and I think for those individuals, how is it that you're going to conceptually bring that to point? Because unless the league has to establish something that says, this is where we want you to go. Is that where you're trying to get that to? Where the league agrees to? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, I'm trying to bring it there because I actually had a meeting because I got like 3 other people I'm working with, like, because we know it's not going to be easy.
Right.
And so what we're saying is, okay, we've seen sports players be suspended year in, year out, lose millions of dollars. We've seen it with John Morant. We've seen it with Draymond Green. But the next year, we still see these are the same guys that's leading in technical fouls.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we sit and see what's really going on? Why does this keep happening?
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? How can we help you?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when we get into the peace circle. This is what I see, but maybe if you talk to the ref like this, maybe you wouldn't get this.
Mm-hmm.
Try this way. Try to talk to him restoratively, and see how that's going to work. Let's try something different.
So are you guys working on something like some kind of program or some kind of curriculum to some extent that you guys are able to sit down with them for, let's say, like weeks on end to make sure that they get some understanding to tether that down? But second part to this also, is that going to say that you have to have some kind of counseling therapy to approve that?
Yes. You asked the perfect question. So what I'm doing now, I've been doing all week, is getting data together, seeing the players who've been suspended the most. What happens? Okay, I don't know like I said, I don't know what they implemented. We know it's $1 million league. They probably got, hey, you got to go see a therapist with this, whatever y'all got.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying it's not working, but we see the same player with the same behavior again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I just seen John Morant get suspended again. A suspension again.
Oh, that right there, that was wrong. That was
exactly.
Wrong. That was wrong.
Exactly. Because when I seen it, I looked. See, why did he get suspended again?
That was wrong.
Oh, he was outside the huddle. Players stand outside the huddle all the time.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
So that's where we got to sit in and say, well, as the practitioners, and say, well, we understand this one and this one, but this one here, now we feel like he's being picked at and he's being made the bad guy. So here's the thing. I not only want to sit, see, that's why I got to come to the commissioner. I not only want to sit with John Morant, but I want to sit with the team to see why this suspension happened to him.
Yeah.
Is this league wide? Because we see this footage shows players sit outside huddles all the time. Why did he get this? What's going on here? So we got to get to the root causes, and that's what restorative justice is about. What's the root of this? So if I'm sitting with a person, let's just say, Charles, we got a guy who stole a purse from an old lady. Now, if they put it on the news, they're going to say, well, this guy ran off and snatched the old lady's purse, and now in the eyes of the public, he's guilty.
Right.
Exactly. But see, when I sit in that circle with him, I'm not saying you wrong for stealing that purse. I'm still got the accountability piece because we know you did do that now.
Yes, exactly.
Was you hungry?
Mm-hmm.
That's when I want to come in. And so that's when I go to the judge and say, well, judge, we're not excusing the behavior. He's still going to complete these things that's set up. But we see one of the reasons why is because he probably haven't ate. He probably haven't eaten for a while. But that's the goal for us is why. So when I'm dealing with youth in Chicago, I say, okay, well, why did you have a gun? Well, man, my homie got killed 3 weeks ago. Oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. Okay. I get it. Not excuse me saying, oh, that was right for you to do, but I get it. How can we help you to turn that around?
Mm-hmm. So How do you build trust with communities impacted by trauma and injustice?
How do I? Oh, I impact the community. For me, one thing about me, Charles, when I first started this is I said I gotta show empathy. So one of the things we first before we even start peace circles is you have a sheet up on the wall to say values, a sheet up on the wall to say guidelines. Tell me some of your values, and then they'll go, hey, I value my family, this, whatever they value. And then I say, I'm gonna move over to my guidelines. And so I wanna get their guidelines, not rules, but it's just gonna what's got our circle up in here. And so my first thing I want to do is make whoever I'm working with comfortable with who I am.
Mhm.
And so how I'm impacting it is I'm not only putting this out, but I'm putting my expertise out. I'm showing how it works. I'm showing like well, when a person first came in, when I mentioned the story with you earlier, how the young brother lost his mother, but he caught this case. Now he came over here. Now he's making $36 an hour with the city. Now he's graduated from high school. Now that's the impact. It all started with the restorative justice circle. So now, even when I told you about the father, now I got this relationship was downhill. Now it's going uphill.
Mhm.
Now we can say, hey, they wasn't even talking, but now look at them. They built a relationship. So I'm impacting it by going into these jails, bringing something in the level of expertise, and not only that, from the background that I came in with, to show people how they can overcome these barriers, because I was one of them.
Oh wow. So I think so that means then if you leading with your story more than breaks the ice and lets you know that you identify.
Yes.
Mm. So what's your approach to engaging youth in restorative practices?
Great question. So I work with one group every Tuesday. And so I always like to give examples because when I first walked in, hardcore young brothers sitting down, arms folded. Now I ain't really into this. I'm just here because it's a paid program. I'm just here because they said we got to be here. I'm gonna get my bread. I'm gone. So I was like, okay, yeah, I told them who I was. Yeah, Fred, I've worked on Division 11 for so many years. I work in community, blah, 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 blah. One of the guests like, man, I heard of you. I said, okay, cool. Let's talk. I said, when we in these, I'm gonna create a safe space. Y'all free to say whatever. If you don't want to talk, you can pass the talking piece, whatever. And so, I was telling them the impact of this is getting to know you guys. That's it. It's just building us a relationship and helping one another. And so one of the guys, I said, I had people in circle that talk about things they were going through, things, cases, and talked about, man, I've actually done what they accused me of. I said, I'm not here to judge you. Oh no, we'll never do that. I said, that's fine. If you don't, you don't. Long
Mhm.
story short, Charles, I'm working with the CTA Second Chance program. I was supposed to be in there for 1 hour. I ended up being there an hour and 30 minutes. Them kids couldn't stop talking. The impact is by me working with the CTA, one of the kids said he just got out of jail. I got him in the CTA program, not only him, but the other two guys he was with. They all three of them just got out of jail. Now I got them in the CTA program, and they probably gonna be working within the next 3 weeks. But it all started with that circle.
Mhm. What's your motivation?
The motivation is to see
No.
my younger self, my older self, help my younger self.
Okay, how?
That's it. Every time I help somebody, I feel like I just help myself.
Okay. So just you just doing and servicing and helping others.
Yep. Yeah. One, I'm a believer of God, so I just feel like God just working through me to help these other to help the people. And so it's just using what somebody helped me with, but to impact other people, impact our neighborhoods and our communities in a positive way.
Mhm. How do you collaborate with schools and educators to create restorative environments?
I train a lot of principals, a lot of teachers to just try to show them how to communicate with our youth, how to create that safe space to get them to talk. And even when you see like a kid with an attitude and things like that, don't keep pressing at them. Fall back a little bit and you can get with them later. Don't always try to figure it out in one circle. It might take several.
Wow. Um, so what role do elders and community leaders play in your work?
Oh, they got the experience. And
Mhm.
so I love when a circle has our elders, our police officers, some youth, because now on the south side of Chicago, you rarely see community and police sit in that same circle because a lot of youth, man, I don't mess with no police, I don't do none of that. And so sometimes when I have police, I say just come plain clothes. So after the circle, I'm like, would you ever talk to a police? Man, heck no. Oh wow, you just did.
Well, wait, wait. Let me ask you something. Now, I understand uh, that whole premise, but do you feel like maybe that you could probably change that a little bit because that kind of sounds like it kind of sounds deceptive in a way, but not deceptive if you understand what I'm saying. Because do they ever feel like, oh, well, wait a minute, I didn't know he was a cop.
You didn't. That's the point of building a relationship. I just told you they was a member of everybody in here was a member of community. That's all I said.
Uh, that's cool. uh, how do you train facilitators to lead peace circles effectively?
I do a 4-day training, and the goal is to break down like what restorative justice is, how it works, um, things that you can use, icebreakers. I have a thing where I put some words up there, an attitude, accountability thing, your work ethic. Um, I just put a couple things up there, and I just off the top, and I said, well, this is what I want y'all to do. I want everybody to go up there and grade themselves on these things. And so when people go up, they get the grade themselves, and I look and I say, well, next week when we meet, tell me how y'all grade went up or down. I want y'all to work on these things. And so the goal is to show, like, to train facilitators to bring the best, make this space as safe as possible because you want to be able to handle when it goes, when a circle gets emotional, when somebody cries. You want to be able to handle if it gets to a point where somebody feels like they being harmed by something somebody says. You got to know
Ooh.
how to control your room and bring
Okay.
it back.
So that's the emotional part.
Yes.
Wow. So I mean, so in that case though, do you sometimes have people like that may have a little therapeutic training to either to be a part of the circle to help you in those aspects, or is that one of the things that with your training and what you learn how to do this that you're just able to just keep it tone?
For me, I sometimes go into a peace circle if it's community or some organization I might not be familiar with. I sometimes go in with a co-facilitator,
Mhm.
and so sometimes my co-facilitator can see some things that I don't see, and we might talk about it. And he might give me a look. Hey, it's time to go on break because I've been in circles where it got to a point where it's that somebody felt like somebody said something that offended them, and it was finna get out of line, and we might give each other that look, and I bring it back. Hey, y'all, we finna go. Let's go on this 5-minute break real quick. So it's great to have a co-facilitator in those cases.
Um, what's your vision for restorative justice in the criminal legal system?
The goal is to have more restorative justice courts all over, because right now in Illinois we got 4, but we should have more, and we should have them all over because restorative justice, from what I've seen, have helped save a lot of lives. Whereas uh, 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 a person who maybe committed a crime going in front of a judge and just saying innocent or guilty and being on probation, and then when they have all those barriers of getting a job because now you're a convicted felon. But now with restorative justice, what we're doing is saying, hey, this is the part of the legal system where you says, what they say It's a correctional facility. So that's one of the things we here to do. We here to correct some of the behavior. This is what it's about. That's what we said these jails are. But why do you have to get even close to that jail before you get corrected? Why couldn't we help try to correct that behavior before they go?
Now, let me ask you this, because that's a lead into where I want to do as a follow-up. And that is, with the justice system being the way it is, and what your program does is to prevent this from getting to that point. Do you think that they would actually implement restorative justice to keep folk from becoming or actually elevating them to being criminals and felons, rather than just saying we want to restore you? Do you honestly think that that's going to happen throughout the system, or is that another one of those things that you're going to have to fight to actually, in that broad spectrum, to bring all of that in so people can start noticing?
It's gonna be a fight. It ain't just because you got lawmakers and some lawmakers saying, "Hey, this is what happened. This is how this goes. It's been going this way for hundreds and hundreds of years." So, but now me being a practitioner, I'm on the side to saying, "Hey, look at the success rate over here.
Mhm.
We got out of the 100% cases that we got dismissed, only 14% reoffended. So you got an 86% the rate of people taking this program and taking it seriously and going on with their lives and doing great things.
Mhm.
But on this hand, we know what goes on over here.
Mhm.
We've been seeing this side for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it has shown that it's not working.
Mhm. Now, if you can think about this, I mean, it's got to be guesstimation, because I'm sure that you don't remember numbers off the top of your head. But if you just think about the justice system and your program, and just think about this, how many in each side do you see are men, young black men, young white men, young ladies, mature ladies, and so forth? How many do you see that are in that system, that goes up and down that ladder in that ring, that cross gender, that is from gender to ethnicity, that you see that's in the system, that you see that you can make that change, and they should make that change? How many people do you see?
Whew. 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 I couldn't even tell you many.
So percentage wise, how many would you say are young black men?
That I'm dealing with probably 90%.
Okay. What about young black ladies?
Small percentage, but it's more coming. It's more now.
Hmm.
Probably from the court I'm working with, we got more men than any young black brothers than anything.
Hmm. And so with that, but just looking at that from a trend perspective, is that something that you can look at, that, with how you're trying to get this restored totally? When you look at that and you look at the upside for all the good things that you've been able to do with your program and how the reforming system is working compared to what's actually here, how can you actually take your progress, those great numbers that you got, that's a fact, and they can see that? How can you work with, especially some of the lawmakers that you should be able to work with, to actually get that change? How do you think that how long do you think it'll take that to work?
Oh wow. Oh, oh, that's a tough question, Charles. I would. I would say a few years.
Because, I say that because that's probably figures, but just as you think about it, though, I mean, like, as you're continuously generating this great progress that you're doing, I mean, apparently, I'm sure that the folk that need to see it are seeing it, but they're also ignoring it. Is why I'm saying that, because now I don't know if you know this or not, and maybe you do, and maybe you can give us some information on this. Is that, the state of California is going to restorative all the way primarily?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Wow.
you didn't know that?
No, I did not. I've heard that. I was following up. I was hearing that they was trying to go that route, but I wasn't sure that they actually went.
Yeah. And so you
Wow.
see, what I'm saying is like, so with you already having progress, I'm sure that there's a way that you should be that you could probably get some folk to actually see this and say, look, we can do this.
Yes, totally, totally. That's one of the goals, Charles. Is like you said with the state of California, but if we can get, like I was just telling one of the brothers I'm working with on this thing for the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I said, do you know the impact we can do if we got, you got like this NBA young boy and Lil Durk. If we was to be able to get these young brothers in a room and get them and a couple members of each one of their crews and just sit them in this room and just break all those barriers back, and they get to talking and showing this respect towards each other and however it goes, and then they walk out that room and shake hands and just, do you know the impact that will bring to a lot of the guys that's even trying to get into this game? They're trying to get into the game, the rap game, the way they got into it with the beefs and things like that, because that's what they see.
Right. Right. The bad perspective.
They see that. So if that's what I see, that's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to start showing the side of how many brothers got locked, going to jail because of this.
Mm-hmm.
How many brothers got killed because of this?
Mm-hmm.
That's the part we got to show. And then show these two just saying, we got to end this. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
So, how do you advocate for policy reform that centers healing? Healing.
Say that one more time, Charles.
How do you advocate for policy reform that centers healing?
Oh, how do I advocate for it? Because one thing when when I advocate, I always show the ones that went through the process and the healing that it brought them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So like the guys that I'm working with in Cook County Jail, look at the healing that it brought them. The ones that didn't reoffend.
Yeah, exactly.
When you don't reoffend, the ones that got cases dismissed, look at what the healing has done for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I advocate.
Okay. So, what's one institutional success story that gives you hope?
Oh wow. My nephew, actually. So I walked into the division I work in Cook County, and I was looking at this one kid. I'm like, because Charles, when it get dark, I wear glasses, so it was kind of dark. I couldn't. I'm like, man, so like my nephew, but I thought I was tripping. I'm like, oh, that ain't him. And so when he got close up on me, he was like, "What you can't see," and it was him. And I'm like, to see somebody you helped raise in that type of environment, it was like somebody just gave me that gut punch, and I was just like, wow, how did you end up here? But I knew it wasn't from the way his mother raised him, because she raised him well, and in being around me because I was an positive impact. But that's why I know how influence on our kids is so strong out here. And so he did he did the same peace circles in Cook County Jail. When he got out of jail, and I had linked up with CTA. He came over to CTA, did the program for 5 weeks, got hired from them, and now he's still working with them. Just bought him a car, and him and this girlfriend they just got their first house. And so I look at that, a guy from the jail, because of peace circles, came out, still linked with me again. We did it until he stayed with these peace circles, then went to CTA, and now he's on a life path of living straight and doing good things.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So I'm sure that means that you had great influence on that.
Yes.
How do you balance grassroots organizations, grassroots organizing with systemic advocacy?
Wow. That's tough. It's one thing about it, Charles, it's not easy going up against a system when it's just you.
Okay.
Because this system is been in place for years, like I say, hundreds of years. So now I'm trying to come in and implement something different that actually works. And so the way I do it is I try to make, well, the goal is to show the process impactful and let the participants speak for it.
Mm. Give us an example of how that works, because I think that kind of sounds simplified, but there's got to be a whole lot more to it than that.
So, 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 so basically, like when I go to Cook County Jail, or if I'm working in their community, and they'll see the impact. So I remember when I first stopped going to Cook County, right?
Mhm,
A lot of guys, they were still coming to programming, but not as much.
mhm.
But when I came back and I would peek through the door and they see it, oh man, I didn't know he was here. Let man, come on, let me in group because of that impact. And so they see what these peace circles do with the behavior. Guys not fighting, guys not so quick to argue, guys huddling up now and talking about things. And so even with the restorative justice court, they seeing the impact from the participants when they graduate, because they call it when they get their case dismissed, it's a graduation. So when they get up there and they graduate and they say, well, I just want to thank Fred and the Peace Circle team because I never thought I would do anything like this, but I got my case dismissed and I never even talked to people. But now look where I'm at now. And so those I don't want to do the talking, I let them do the talking. The ones that's being impacted by it.
Let's move over to your personal journey and legacy. What personal experiences shaped your commitment to justice and healing?
Say that one more time, Charles.
What personal experiences shaped your commitment to justice and healing?
Personal experiences in my life, because I actually went through the criminal system myself. When I called a case, I seen how the lack of empathy is just not there. I didn't see it there. And so when I went through it, it was more of innocent or guilty, probation or jail. You got some money for a lawyer or not, you take this free attorney and you go from there. So it was more like, we don't care about what you went through out here. We only care about this case. And so when I went through that, I knew that I never, when if I ever been a part of working for Cook County and things of that nature, it would have had to be trying to help somebody stay away from this. And so when I seen the restorative justice in my own situation, so when I'm dealing with the guys, with people would say inmates, but I call them the guys in Cook County, I would say that I feel like I'm always just dealing with myself because I've been through this. And
Right.
so that's why my story impacts what I'm doing.
Okay. And how do you stay grounded in emotionally intense work?
I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of reading because Charles, you have to remember you're dealing with people lives here.
Yes,
They
exactly.
freedom.
Right.
They freedom. And I fight hard for my participants and my people. I always tell them it hurts me when somebody don't complete the program. So now this is what happens, Charles. If they don't complete the program, their
Mhm.
case go back to Cook County.
Uh-oh.
That's what happens. It goes back there. And so if they catch another case, it goes back. And so that's the hurting part when I know I didn't work with a person a year and then a case pop up and it goes back.
Wow.
So that means a year worth of work and pouring all that energy into you, it didn't even go to the positive cause.
Have you ever got to the point where you kind of like felt fed up and didn't want to do this anymore?
Yes. Yes. I feel like that. I've been feeling like that lately. I have to be honest with you because I'm dealing with lives every day.
Hmm.
And it gets tiring because like one kid I'm working with, Charles, his case been dismissed 3 months ago, but he called me every Friday.
Okay.
And he's like, Fred, man, you mentored me for 5 weeks, but I just want to know, can I continue to call? I I can't say no. I can, but I can't because this is something he looks forward to. But it's a lot of energy within that because I work with a lot of people. Once they catch on to me, they don't want to let go and I understand it because I wanted to be this person that they felt that they can grab to and say he's like bro, he's like to me, and I'm walking with them the whole way. I'm sitting in court with them. I'm getting them prepared, and so it is draining sometimes, and it has made me want to like I need a break. And I have taken breaks, but I know it's the work that in the path that God put me on to help somebody else.
Mm. And so, let me tell you why I ask you that is because, I think anytime you're dealing and you're doing services, shall I say, it's like you have to have more than just sympathy and empathy. You've got to have some real serious patience to do this. But in that whole process, there grows a bond and an attachment in some shape, form, or fashion. Because, and what happens is that by doing this work and you just putting all of you in this work because you've been successful, I mean, and you are continuously doing this over and over again, but you're elevating it as you're doing it. That itself, I know, is taxing, but if it wasn't your mission, then I don't think you would do it. So if you had to do it again, would you do the same thing?
Yes.
See?
Yes, because I would want somebody to do it for me.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what sets you apart.
That's why my eyes are sitting here red now. I'm like, my God, like people don't understand. It's a lot of work when you trying to help somebody from going into that system.
Yeah. What does legacy mean to you in the context of restorative justice?
The legacy for me is just I want people to know that he did everything possible for his people. He tried to help. Man, I link up with jobs. I link up with organizations. I talk to judges. I'm out here every day to help somebody. So I want my legacy to be he was always one to always help and never give up on somebody. Never give up on somebody. Never.
Who are your mentors or influences in this field?
One mentor is the guy who trained me, Robert Spicer, great trainer. Another trainer, her name is Cheryl Graves, Cheryl and Pam Graves. I went through their trainings, amazing trainers. I always call them for advice, tips. They like the elders of restorative justice. And so I always go to them for anything. And they always help me because I always say they're the experts. And I always call Robert Spice. I be like, man, you're the Jay-Z of restorative justice. And they like the best. They the best. I bow it that's how great they are to me.
Wow. So how do you incorporate cultural wisdom and ancestral practices into your work?
The culture. So one thing, and I'm glad you asked that question because from the culture, I try to get people, like especially the system, to understand the culture that we're dealing with. This because I'm typically on the south and west side of Chicago, and so just understanding the culture of what the gangs look like, what their impact look like, what influence look like, and so the things that we got to look out for. So when they sit down with us, how we know how to handle them.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to know how to handle a person, how to approach them, how to not come at them wrong, but also hold them accountable.
Right. Right. So in that case, just in that whole makeup, with that whole makeup, how is it that you dedicate you into that?
I dedicate me into that because I always tell them I have to be me, Charles, no matter what. And I'll give you an example. So I was in a meeting today and they said, Fred, you just always dress how you want to dress. You wear a lot of hoodies, a lot of gym shoes and things of that nature. I said, well, I have to be comfortable around my people.
Mm.
I have to.
Well,
I'm not trying to impress them. I'm not
right,
trying to impress them anything.
right.
I have to be comfortable around them.
What's your message to young people who want to become peace builders?
Oh, my message is to them: do it, go for it. That's the message. If you want to be a peacekeeper, go for it. And if I can help in any way, I will.
So, are you
Because
doing those?
the work is so impactful.
So, you doing those trainings now?
Yes. I actually got to implement an online training because a lot of people been inboxing me like, well, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. So I gotta get some online trainings going.
Mm. How do you envision restorative justice evolving over the next decade?
I envision more restorative courts. I envision like restorative justice in NBA fields, in the sports fields. I envision it like being on like TV and we seeing it live and seeing the impact of it. I just seeing it being all over the place.
Well, I don't think, and I could be wrong. I don't know, and maybe you will probably know better than me. But here in the Southeast, I don't hear them speak of restorative justice or restorative programs. I don't think they have those here, or do they?
I'm not sure, Charles, but I got to get it. That's my goal is to get it everywhere. So I'm actually in 2026 going to be traveling to a lot of different schools. I'm actually I got Denver, Colorado. I'm going to. I got a lot of different places I'm going to because a lot of people don't even know about it and the impact and the healing it brings. Like Charles, I sit in some circles and you would just be like, wow.
Mm,
I have to keep one thing I do. I have to keep a box of tissue in the middle.
wow, wow.
When I start breaking off them barriers in the match, I done seen the hardest guys wiping tears from their eyes.
Mm. What's one moment in your career that affirmed your purpose?
What's one moment in my career that affirmed my purpose?
Yes.
Oh, that's deep. Oh, I got it. I got it. I had one guy in the restorative court, tough young brother, came in, walked in the group, pushed the chair, sat in it all, slacked up. Man, how long I gotta be here? And all the people, my co-workers is looking because they knew I was gonna get him. And so they was looking, everybody was looking at me. I said, oh, I said, you don't have to stay here. You can get up and leave. And he said, what's gonna happen if I leave? I said, well, I'll just let the judge know this program ain't for you, and they just send your case back to Cook County. That's all. And he sat back down, like, no, I don't want that to happen. I said, I thought so. And but me and him, the conversation we had got so deep. I mean, this brother started crying and the things that he was going through. And we shook hands after the circle. I said, next time I see you, next time we gonna talk, we're gonna get deeper. We got deeper for the next 4 weeks. And but then like 6 months, I walked up to him after he got his case dismissed. And we shook hands again. And I said, I told you. And he just said, man, it was just that deep. It was just so impactful. And he said, I really, really needed that. You just don't know what I was going through in my life.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Well, let me ask you this, Fred, because as I hear you talk about that, and there's a lot of guys apparently that have experienced, trauma maybe from childhood and so forth, and it's been throughout their lives. And for them, they build these barriers. They don't know when to let the walls down, but when they do let the walls down, and they let out all these emotions. I mean, like, what is that like for you? Is that like a breakthrough moment to where you finally get them to maybe start to realize and see some things? Or how does that work for you?
It's like a breakthrough moment because I know once I get them, then they start opening up. I know how to even turn it up a notch because I've been doing it for so long. I
Mm-hmm.
said, so in my mind, Charles, you would be surprised if I tell you I go into a lot of peace circles and people say, like, do you be having notes? I say, no, I have to read who I'm dealing with. So I can't go off because I've seen practitioners come off their phone and ask. I said, no, I have to read my room. That's the profession of what I do. I could, I'm not saying I'm trying to read his mind, but oh, he's starting to open up now. Now it's time for me to dive in.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started diving in, now it's time for me to start talking about see now because it's not just them I'm focused on. I got a whole room, but it's just the participant that the one that's fighting the case is it's all about that person. But I know now it's time for me to open up so he can open up more. The more he might look at my lead because he's never been a part of this. And so now we're gonna keep going up, up, up. Now we can break some of them barriers to see where we need to help him at.
Right. Um, how do you want to be remembered in this movement?
I just want to be remembered as in this moment right now, just a person who would do what it takes to help his people, no matter what it was. No matter if I'll go toe to toe with a judge, no matter if I had to go to toe with the state's attorney. I've done all these things too, Charles.
Mhm.
Now, no matter what it was, I'm for the people.
Right. So, what does a healed community look like to you?
A healed community would look like murder rate dropping tremendously. We sitting here being able to talk to each other about conflicts and conflict. We come up with our own resolutions, and we are coming together to before conflict even starts to say, no, we're going to prevent this from happening.
Mhm. So, we also chatted about Black history, and I asked you who's the most influential person in your life and career in Black history, and you told me that was Malcolm X. And when did you first encounter the teachings or legacy of Malcolm X? And what about that moment shifted something in you?
Oh, I was in sixth grade, 12 years old. I'll never forget when I first watched the movie, watched it with the one with Denzel Washington, and I
Yeah.
read the book. I
Mhm.
was like, wow, like, and I always love the scene in Malcolm X when the brother got arrested and Malcolm X and the brothers went to go pick him up, and they was like, how do one man get so much power? That line was just
Yep.
like I still get chills when I like see that, like to see like a brother go up against
The
this
system.
system and didn't back down and was willing to give his life for it. I said that just it was just so it was amazing to me.
Mm. Malcolm X often spoke of transformation from Detroit Red to El Haj Malik, El Shabazz. Um, how has his journey of reinvention inspired your own path?
It inspired my path because it lets me know that no matter what you up against, you can do it. And
Mm.
I've been up against a lot of barriers because you like dealing with these courts and in certain cases that they don't want at these courts. When I'm steady fighting, now we need this. We need this here. Those are the ones that's impacting most. The guys and the ladies with the gun cases. We need them here. So it's been things been taken away, but just speaking up for them, trying to get it back because a lot of people that have not lived in these areas and been around our people don't understand it. And so knowing how Malcolm X went toe to toe, it lets me know if he can do it, I can do this. And
Right.
I'm not nowhere near the level he was on, but it just let me and keeps me grounded and remind me to keep going.
Wow. What aspects of Malcolm's philosophy, whether political, spiritual, or cultural, have most shaped your worldview and work?
Oh, I love the 4 words by any means necessary. I always love when they're seeing that like that, by any means necessary, because I feel like by any means I want to help my people.
Hmm.
I love Charles. It gives me a rush when I see brothers getting up, talking to the judge, saying I thank you, and they saying case dismissed. I put it on my post. I said my two favorite words is case dismissed. I love hearing that.
Right. Wow. But you know something, from the first time you was on the show to now, and you've gotten all these cases that are dismissed. Can you tell us? I mean, and then I got some more questions for you, but you know, it's just came to mind as you just made that last statement. But how many cases, to your knowledge, you know, from the last time up to now that you have now gotten dismissed?
I'll say it's a team effort. I'm just a part of it. I would say about 130 now. About 130.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's 130 lives that's been impacted by this restorative justice court and their cases being dismissed. And not only are their cases being dismissed now, now we have added that we expunge them also.
Oh wow. You was able to get that.
Yeah, we was able to get it. We've been fighting for it and we was able to get it.
Wow. Malcolm X was unapologetically committed to truth telling, even when it was uncomfortable. How has that principle shown up in your career for our advocacy?
I'm not apologetic, but I'm the same way. I am unapologetic.
Mhm.
I have to go in knowing I'm doing the right thing. Not saying I'm always right, but I feel I'm right when I'm trying to help my people. I feel that way. And when I go home, I feel good when I can sit down at the dinner table and say, I was a small part of helping change someone's life.
In what ways has Malcolm's global perspective, especially after his pilgrimage to Mecca, influenced how you see your role in the world beyond America?
I see my role like when you say beyond America. I just hope when I'm putting like posters on LinkedIn and Facebook that somebody else is seeing it and they want to do the same, but even at a higher scale. And we just keep doing this thing and just bringing it worldwide and getting it bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why like 2026. I'm just gonna start doing online trainings. I want to start just doing much, much more. At first, I was gonna scale back. I need to scale back some. And then I sat down, I went over myself and said, no, you got to push this out more and more. And I was just like, wow.
Malcolm X challenged systems of power with clarity and courage. Can you share a time when his example gave you strength to speak out or take a stand?
Oh, I was going toe to toe with one of our station attorneys, and he was saying, well, Fred, I think this person should go back. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Well, at the station attorney office, this is how it goes. And I'm like, well, no, if y'all said this is a restorative justice community court, that's not how restorative justice works. Well, this is what we're gonna do at the state at our level. But I'm saying, well, if we name the court Restorative Justice Community Court, where's the restorative justice? And what happened to the community that's supposed to be part of this court that's sitting up in here? Don't they get to talk? People be like, this dude here, it's like, man.
This is in restorative court.
Yeah, I used to go toe to toe with them so much. I was just like, oh my God. And so when the cases and things would get like out of like to a point where they see it's getting out of control and we start going back the state's attorney, everybody was just start looking at me like, oh, what he finna say?
Hmm. So, how do you interpret Malcolm's concept of by any means necessary in the context of your own work and mission today?
Because by any means necessary, I'm gonna do what I have to do for the people. It's just it be Charles, it gets tiring, I gets worn down sometimes, but I know somebody's life and somebody's freedom is dependent on what we doing.
Yeah. Malcolm X was deeply committed to the upliftment of Black people through education and self determination. How has that commitment echoed in your own pursuit?
Just being committed. So, Charles, one thing about me, every morning I wake up, I do declarations. I make sure my mind has to stay sharp, and I try to make sure that the advice and the things that I'm giving the participants that I'm working with is the best of my knowledge. So that's why I always read up on, even though I've been doing restorative justice for 10 years, I still work on myself. I still read other books about restorative justice. What could I implement? I still go on YouTube to see things and that I can implement in my peace circle. I still do my research on, man, I could have did this better. I always do that. Like when I sit back and I come from the court and I'm working with in circles, I always think about what could I have done better.
Mhm. So, but even in that process, though, and just thinking about in this commitment, as they say, how Malcolm did it. Uh, what is it? Is there any difference to what he's doing compared to what you're doing? Do you see it any different, or is it on that same level, just hadn't risen to the point where say, "Oh, Malcolm X did that"?
No, I ain't at that level. I ain't gonna compare myself to Brother Malcolm. No, sir. I want to get to that level because I look at him as iconic.
Mm,
And what I love about his story was it wasn't about money. It wasn't about I want to make this name. It was strictly for the people, and that's what I'm doing. That's why the comparison most definitely there, but not on that level. But
mm,
I want to be able to reach that level because he created a level that can be reached.
yes.
And I feel it can be reached and beyond. And then I want somebody to take it further than that.
Mhm. If Malcolm were alive today, what do you think he'd say about the current state of Black leadership, and how does that shape your own sense of responsibility?
Hmm. I think we'll be proud on some ends, like for us having like the first black president, and then we got him elected twice. I think we'll be happy on that level, but also not happy on certain levels because we still out here doing things to each other instead of building with each other. We still out here killing one another, and so maybe if and the goal for me in these circles is that's why I tell people I don't want to kill nobody. I want to try to help heal somebody.
Mhm.
And so I think it would be like a 50-50.
Okay.
Mm.
Finally, if you could say one thing to Malcolm X, not as a historical figure, but as the man who shaped your life, what would it be?
What made you go on? What made you go on? What was it? What made you go on? What was that it factor for you?
Mm, that's interesting. So in closing, um, what are some? Could you leave some words of wisdom and encouragement for our audience? Let them know how they can connect with you on your social media, websites or anything that you'd like for them to know.
Oh, one thing I want to leave with the people with, I'm a restorative justice practitioner. I've been doing it for 10 years. Anybody want to get trained on restorative justice, please just look up Frederick Cooper on LinkedIn. That's one of the biggest sites that I'm on. And just inbox me and we can talk about whether it's for your family, your organization, and we're gonna make sure we get it done.
Okay. Um, well, is that it?
That's it.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to come back to the show
Of course.
and bless us because it truly was great. And it's always good to see that, your progress is still your progress and you're still growing and you're still doing great things. I want to thank everyone that's watching on all of our channels. For those of you, especially that are watching on the YouTube channels, if you have not yet subscribed and enabled all notifications, I ask if you would please support us by subscribing to our channel and enabling all notifications. Also, I would appreciate if you guys could go out and join the community. Our community has got lots of things there for each and every individual. You can go there, you can watch the show there. You can either also go there and you can post and network, and you will also get the opportunity to get to meet some of the other folk there, the other professionals that are doing some things, and just connect and get to expand and grow that way as well. Also, for those of you that don't know, if you do not know, we've just released issue 4 to our monthly magazine. It has just come out, and I would appreciate if you guys could go and subscribe to the magazine as well and get yourself a copy. Um, I want to thank you again, Fred, for being here, and thank everybody that was watching tonight. Please join us again tomorrow night, same time, as we here on America in Black and White will continue to color conversations on the canvas of America. Y'all have a great